Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Empowerment Platform, where our mission is to empower you to reach your goals. First off, Happy New Year to all of you. We want to kick this season off right, and we brought in my man, Demarcus Taylor, to talk to us about getting that finance right, getting our finances right for 2021. So, Corey, how's it going?
Oh man, we're off to a good start. Making things move and shake. I think the biggest thing for 2021 is kind of seeing your plan now play out. And then there's always that tap on the back that's like, you know what, you're doing the right thing, because then you start talking to individuals and they be like, man, I sure hope 2021 is good. And I'm like, ooh, there you go, hoping. So yeah, it's man, we done started off right.
Cool, cool. Demarcus, how about you? How's your New Year so far?
Man, 2021 has definitely started out on the right path, and 2020 ended awesomely for me, my family, my team. But just like what Corey was saying, though, you start getting around some of them people, and they start saying things like, "Well, I hope 2021 is right." I made it my duty starting that. If anybody say something like that around me, I can't be around them no more. 2021, period.
Ooh, I like that. I
You
like.
got to get away from hoping.
I was on a
Facts.
book club this evening, and it was said that our family we love, our peers we choose. So you love your family, you love the people that's around you, that's in your circle, but
Mm,
your peers you choose. So if you continue to allow those people to stay in your circle, it's on you.
Hmm.
You
facts.
want to, even if they're not in the same place as you just had to keep them at a distance. You had to keep moving. You had to let them be where they at. Still love them, even still love those. But those people that's in that inner circle that you want to go and you want to grow with, that's who you keep close. That's who you share your ideas with. And then again, like you said, when they start talking that hope, wish, dream, I wonder. Okay, we'll talk later. We did our 15 minutes together.
Hmm.
Before we get started, we was having a conversation about Clubhouse, and I got to get out what I think about Clubhouse.
Uh-oh.
Everybody on Clubhouse, everybody raving about Clubhouse. I believe, and I'm not on Clubhouse. I don't have an iPhone. I'm not going to the dark side. I'm loyal Android fan for life. Here's what I think about Clubhouse. I think Clubhouse is a great way to go, or a great place to be, to soak up knowledge and information from the greats that done it. Like Demarcus was talking about, he was in a room with Grant Cardone. People have been in a room with Master P. You're in a room with Oprah. You're in a room with Kevin Hart. And gleaning that information is wonderful. But my question is, and I put this question, I posed it to a whole lot of coaches that talking about being in Clubhouse. What are you going to do with that information? What's your game plan?
Mm,
Something I heard Lil Wayne say, the guy asked him on the podcast, on the interview, said, Wayne, who do you listen to? He said, I listen to myself, because I'm still working on myself and I'm trying to grow. So I don't have time to listen to nobody else. So if you in Clubhouse, what are you doing there? That's my only thing. Do you go in there, get the knowledge, but what are you gonna do with it? How you gonna apply it? How it's gonna take you forward? How it's gonna accomplish your business goals or your personal goals? So next time you go in Clubhouse, just think about that. I hear people talking about, man, I've been on Clubhouse 4, 5, 6 hours. Well, did you work in your business for 4, 5, 6 hours? Were you doing that in the past? And these some people that I also heard say they ain't got time to do nothing else,
Oh Lord.
but you got time to be on Clubhouse. See, that's how the mind works. That's how people work. But do everybody do you? So we're gonna go ahead and kick this podcast show off. DeMarcus, I don't like reading biographies and all that stuff. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, what you specialize and focus in.
okay. Yeah. I'm Demarcus Taylor. I am a personal and business financial strategist. Once upon a time, I faced life in prison as a college student athlete, and kind of just went through different type of hardships throughout life, trying to figure it out. Being a felon in America at the age of 19, my back was literally against the wall. There was no blueprint for me coming from a small rural area of Enterprise, Mississippi. 514 people total. And we're talking about a median income of $16,000. So you can imagine that poverty mindset, that survivor mindset, and on top of that, you automatically being in the system and caught in certain situations that kind of, put you in barriers and distractions to keep you in one particular place. But so now, I turn it around. I'm an author. Um, I'm a coach. I'm also a real estate developer, and most importantly, man, I'm a man of God, and I'm a husband. So that's
Good,
who I
good,
am.
good. And I see that smile came out when you was talking about being a man of God and being a husband. Everything else comes secondary. It comes
Absolutely,
behind. So you got your foundational principles together. Talk to us
absolutely.
a little bit about that time period when you were facing that life in prison, when you were on, I would say, the low points, just so people can know what you came through. Because a lot of times when our listeners, they try to figure out, how do I get out of my current situation to where I want to be? And so just talk to us a little bit about how you were in those situations and what your life looked like at that point for you.
Okay. Uh, well, can I be extremely transparent?
Absolutely. That's all the way we roll.
Yeah, that's it.
Absolutely.
We don't want it if it ain't transparent.
I got you. All right. So, um, at 19 years old, I want you guys to envision, this college student athlete, football player, full scholarship. My dad made it to the NFL. I had mentors in place, Hall of Fame wide receivers. Had the same structure set up for me to be able to follow those footsteps. And one day during the summer, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. There was some underage females in the dorms. I seen some people, just being real, I seen some people, have sex with some people, and they was underage, and I didn't tell on them, and I got charged with a sexual battery charge at 19 years old. Didn't know no better, scared, didn't have no type of insight. All it was fear and lack of knowledge. So from that, imagine standing in front of a judge at 19 years old. This guy has your hand, like literally have your life in his hands, and the only thing in your mind, you're thinking life in prison. That's it. Life in prison. So you coming from stardom, you coming from, privilege, you coming from, riding this particular wave into now, I'm gonna set you in a place where, you don't know nobody who ever came through this. You don't know nobody who's made it out of this. You don't even really know nobody that's in this. You know what I mean? And coming through that, I ended up coming out of it. I thought that I was going to prison, but I didn't. I ended up getting 5 years of probation and still marked as a felon, though. So then a couple of years later, I find myself doing a skilled trade. And through that skilled trade, I was able to obtain some income that reached six figures. So now I'm thinking I'm actually on top of the world. Like, yo, there are no dark spots right now.
Mm-hmm.
But in the midst of me hitting that six figures, man, within 6 to 7 months, I got married and went through a divorce 6 months later. And through that divorce, I was homeless, living in my car, taking showers at Planet Fitness. And I lost who I thought that I was. I had no identity, bro. Like at that moment, it was very, very dark, bro. I remember sitting in that car and it started raining. I was talking about it started raining, and the only thing that I can remember was me saying, like, God, what am I gonna do now? Like, what am I gonna do now? I got 75 cents in my bank account. I just left the place that I call home and went 13 and a half hours away with somebody that I thought that was the love of my life. I'm thinking this person had my best interest. So I ended up sacrificing certain things. But through that journey of me being homeless, I developed my book, Turn Your Catastrophe Into a Masterpiece. And I'm talking about broken, bro. This was a broken, breaking Demarcus Taylor. I was like, at this moment, I thought that me facing life in prison was actually a dark, dark place. But when I went through divorce and I became isolated, creating that book, that was probably the darkest place in my life, period.
So talk to us a little bit about that because when you say you felt isolated, you have family. Why didn't you go back home?
Man, honestly, I had a vision. I had a vision, that God gave me that I needed to birth. And I knew if I went back home, I could never become the person that, I was supposed to be, the person that I am today. I knew if I went back to that comfort zone, it'll never happen.
Oh wow. So and I think that's where a lot of people get stuck almost in life. You get a little bit uncomfortable and then you go back to your comfort zone and then you never really blossom and grow because now you stuck in that comfort zone of what other people either A want you to be or expect
Facts.
you to be or tell you to be, and you're no longer you. You are a product of somebody else's vision for you. So sometimes we say that, well, if you have issues or if you have things, just go home. Well, home might not be the environment that you need to be in. And you know, I think that for me, it was the same. Well, I went back home, but there was nothing there. When I went back home, there was nothing there. I was with my grandma. Everybody else was doing what they were doing. There were no jobs, and they were like, "Okay, what are you gonna do?" And military was my way out. It was like, "Okay, the only way I'm gonna get out of here is, I'm gonna go in the military. I'm gonna serve, and then that'll give me an opportunity." Because to me, the military, honestly, and I get it. There are people who serve because they want to serve and they have a vision of that, and that's where they want to take their life. But if you
Mm-hmm.
don't know where you are in life, if you don't have skills or you don't have anything, go in the military. It is a place where you will gain structure, a paycheck, and a roof over your head for a period of time. And it's to me, it's a no-brainer. It's like, why suffer when you can go there and get on your feet and then get out and do what you wanna do once you have some vision. And so, at that point, homeless, in the car, it was raining, man, you made that sound like a movie. I swear when you said that, I closed my eyes and I just saw a movie scene of you sitting in the car looking like this. How did you get the idea to write a book in that part of your life?
Man, I think it's because, man, I was broken, man. Like, I wanted to be able to express myself. Honestly, I wanted to express myself. I wanted to share my story, but something always was deep in me was like, you know what? It has to be something better than this. Like, what do you need to do right now? Like what can you do right now? What do you have? You know what I mean? You know how we have these deep visions, and we see all this type of stuff, but what do you have right in front of you right now? And the first thing I had my phone, and I had the Word app, the Microsoft Word app, and had a pen and pad. And I had tears, I had emotions, I had, spirit, all of this, and it was just like, let this out.
And so one of the things you were talking about though, and I want to back up just a little bit. So you talked about going back home, Tyrus. You just talked about how stuff got a little rough. You went back home. DeMarcus, you
Facts.
talked about how you didn't go back home. But I want people to catch that though. And so in your particular story, so you said you were like 13 some hours away. What's the reason you didn't go back home? Because there's a lot of individuals that's listening to this right now. There's a lot of individuals that let's not even talk about just home per se. It ain't even the going home, but it's going back to the comfort. So what's the reason you didn't go run back to, oh man, I got to go back home. I got to go, back to mama house. Or I got to go back to granny house or something like that because something's happened. I got smacked in the mouth and now I'm chasing my comfort zone. And the reason I
Yeah.
want that to be brought up is because, like I said, there's a lot of individuals out there that once life hits them in the face, oh man, it's time to pack it up and go back home. So talk to us about that. Like, what's the reason you didn't do that?
Um, Now that you break it down like that, bro, I'm thinking about it, man. Like I played football my whole life. You know what I mean? From Pee Wee, you know what I'm saying? Up. And I know it seemed like every coach that I was with was like, when they hit you in your mouth, or somebody gonna hit you in your mouth, or something gonna happen. And if you get hit, everybody like, get up. You know what I mean? You ain't hurt. It's all good. Like you can get smacked, ran over, but you gotta get up, and then you gotta kind of like, you know, at least play it like it's not hurting you or something. You gotta be like, okay, it's all good. Like just shake it off. And I think that kicked in when I was going through that situation, to where it was like that had been instilled in me, to where I'm like, you know what? Life just hit me in my mouth, but what you gonna do? What you gonna do about it? Like, are you gonna go forward? Because I'm like, man, if you was 19 years old facing life in prison, bro, you can get through this. If you found a way to be able to develop a skill in spite of schools not wanting you there, jobs not wanting to hire you, churches not wanting you there, like all of these different organizations, like, bro, you can get through this. And it was just me and God, bro. Me and God. And I knew if I went back home, my people, I love my people, but they wasn't changing.
Yeah, and sometimes that's what it is. And so for those of y'all listening, like I really want y'all to get that. And I love the football reference because Tyrus know, I used to bang with him at one point in time. But one of the things that happened to me was, and we talked about it on here before. So I got ruled ineligible by the NCAA. They was like, you was more athlete than student. Go on, figure that out. And so for me, one of my old high school coaches, he always used to say, because I played linebacker, and he was like, anytime a team runs the lead, play at you, he said, if you're a linebacker and they keep running the lead at you, it's because they punking you out. And I was like, I didn't really believe in that. And so that's like how I approach life, really. I was like, life cannot just continuously run the lead play. For those of you who don't know what the lead play is, it's an I formation where it's the quarterback, the fullback, and the running back. And they go straight through either the B gap or the A gap, depending on wherever they run it at. They're going to run it straight at you. That fullback is going to try to kick your behind up out the play so that the running back can lead up right behind him. And so I remember him always saying, if they continue to run the lead play at you, it's because they know they can punk you out. And so I always thought about that through life. And I was like, I can't go back home after this because that's the lead play coming at me. So if I go back home, I go pack it up. I go back. My old high school coach said, hey, look, I heard what happened. I got a job for you over here if you want to. The easy way out. I appreciate the opportunity, but things will come at you and be like, it's just when you want to die, and we can talk about that in a second. Like things just come up and they'd be like, man, just go back to comfort. It's okay. It's fine. Mm-hmm. Even when I talk about like with the diet, right? People go on the diet, all of a sudden my favorite pie is pecan pie. I just so happen to bake 12 of them for you today. Really? You just so happen after I started this smoothie cleanse, right? Oh, okay, cool. And so that's the thing I want people to get is that you have to, what's your lead play? Like you don't pack it up and go to whatever house it is. It might be that relationship that you shouldn't be in. It might be actually going back home that ain't got no opportunities for you. It might be going back to some job that's dead end. That's not going to empower you. Like, what is you going home? Like, what is that you're packing up? But I love what you said about that, because there's a lot of people who just say, man, I got hit in the mouth, I'm going back home. And you find yourself 10, 15, 20 years down the line saying, if I would have. And then there's people like yourself that say, I did, therefore look at me now.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, Corey, when I think about, not only is home a comfort zone, if the environment is not right for you, it can become an enabler. Oh, it's okay. You tried. It's okay. You can come on back and live the way we were living. But and I think Demarcus can attest to this, once you have exposure and expose your mind to something else, you can't go back to the same. It's like you said, I love my people, but there's never I could never go back to where I grew up. And I'm not talking about people wise, I'm talking about amenity wise. I'm talking about
Mm.
I need to be able to get to a grocery store in less than 20 minutes. I need to be able to go do the things that I want to do. I want my kids to have opportunities that's just not there. And so had I stayed around, life would be different. Had I went back, like if something happened today and I'm like, oh, let's pack up and go back to grandma's house. I'm going back to grandma's house. Man, my life would be so much more painful than what it is now. Or, you know, I think that working our way out of situations puts something into us that and it breathes and brings to life something that we never knew or that would never exist if we went back to the enabling comfort zone. And so, I commend you for doing that, for writing that book. I know you told us it was on your phone on the Word app. And most people, they won't write a book, and they sit in front of a computer every day, but they wanna write a book. They wanna put that I gotta put my book out. Imma get my book out." "Well, when?" "Well, I'm too busy," or "I got all these other excuses." You didn't have an excuse. You realized that you were at rock bottom, as they would say, and then you knew that you had to come on and go on up. So from that point, you wrote that book. When did you start to get into the financial aspect, the credit repair, the investing that you're doing? Take us through that journey and what led you there.
Man, that's interesting that you say that, bro, because I was just having a conversation with some people on Clubhouse. Matter of fact, so just before we start, I utilize Clubhouse to start rooms, to give out information, or to just speak about some uplifting things to get people to that next level. And that was one of the questions. Like, why? How did you get here? And I was like, you know what? Being 19, exiled in the beginning, facing life in prison, and you're a felon at a very young age. It's like, yo, you want a wife, you want the family, you want the cars, you want the finances in place. How are you gonna create them when they won't even hire you, bro? Like, you can't even go get an apartment. Like, they look at you and look at your background. There's no way you're gonna get any housing. And you can have, you can have a degree, you can have, all of the tangible things in place, but certain businesses will never hire you. So I done that. I went back to college. It took me 12 years to get my 4-year degree. I got that. Went from there. Um, I started refining my skills as a pipe fitter slash combo welder. I began to get high certifications in that field as a pipe fitter. I joined a union, and to join the union, you're supposed to go through a program, but I took a test, and I took the test over my experience and aced it. Then within that, got some more certifications. Took the PMP and got into construction management. So what I done, I started adding value to myself to where it was like, you know what, they can't turn me away now. Like, they can't. And then from that, I leveraged the credit. I started working on my credit. I started, doing research. I started reading books, started getting financial intelligence. And I began to see, okay, now that I'm in this construction, it got me away from the house 10, 12 hours a day. Now, I may be living in Virginia and maybe working in Houston. So it's like, yo, I'm away from my wife. Like, yo, me and my wife on the brink of getting a divorce. We going through it because I'm not in the home. I'm like, man, what can I do? Like, I finally got to the space where, like, now I can provide.
Mm.
I'm finally being accepted by these people. That's what I really thinking. Like, yo, I'm finally being able to go somewhere and not getting turned down. But then I got this other problem that happens. So now I'm like, okay, how do I bridge the gap? And that's when I started thinking about business opportunities. That's when I started thinking about really pushing the sales on my book. Then when I started thinking about, okay, how can I get some passive income? Speaking of passive income, me and my wife, we just closed on some apartment complex last week. And now that pays for the bills and cash flow on top of that. So it's like me facing all that adversity is what pushed me to that, bro. Period.
So I'm
Now
a,
let me
oh,
let
go.
me let me ask this though, Tyrus, because you talked about how you built up into that, and I know there's some individuals that are like, so you said you went for like pipe fitting and welding. I did a little stint there over the summers. At sometimes I wasn't a welder or nothing like that, but there's a lot of people who like I want them to catch your growth into that, right? So you was like pipe fitter, welder, started understanding more stuff, took the PMP, passed that, got the construction stuff done, and then you were like, matter of fact, we just closed on an apartment that's about to pay all my bills
You
and
can
more.
get that in.
So talk to me about that. So when you were in that moment and you were like, because I want people to realize you have to build to this stuff, right? Like we live in this old microwave age that's just like, well, I just bought 87 apartments last week. And I'm sitting here like, well, how? But it seems like there's some things that happen in your life that actually positioned you by doing it. And there's probably some things that you learned that help you even today for you even to culminate into buying that apartment and the other properties that you have. So talk to the people about that. So when you're in that, man, I'm doing the welding thing, I'm doing the pipe fitting thing. Like, what's your mindset during that time? Is it okay, I'm just kind of doing this, or was it, hey, I have a bigger plan or bigger goal for me doing this right now?
Yeah. Um, Honestly, bro, when I first started doing it, it was like, yo, you ain't never had this type of money. Let's go ball out. So I got to splurge and spending money just going everywhere. And then I hit rock bottom again. And then I got to seeing where like, okay, I don't want to do this. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to do this. I want to do that. And then I got to, doing research. And I started looking at it as an honorable thing, a skilled trade that's something nobody could never take away from me. It's a skilled trade that I can walk away from and I can come back to it because it has been gifted to me to be able to know this skill trade. Everybody don't know it. So I started taking pride in it, man. And I wanted to like from the football spirit, I wanted to be the best. Like I'm like, yo, I'm very competitive. So it was like, you know what? Let's leverage this. Let's leverage this to the next level. Like, bro, like this is some good money that you could be making to get over here. But you gotta shift your mindset. And so even while I was on the job, it's funny, I got a picture. I just looked through my phone. While I was on the job, let's say I ended up cleaning some pipe up, fitting it together, getting my welder to tack it and weld out. And when I got my welder to that point, I had my notebook and I had Robert Kiyosaki book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, reading it. While he welding, I'm sitting there learning, learning. And he finished, now I got to go do something else. I'm talking about this was day in and day out. I was on night shifts working 12 hours. I could be on day shift working 12 hours, man. And I was going to school during the whole time, working in Florida, working 10, 12 hours, 7 days a week. And I remember my brother and them was like, yo, come on, we finna go out. We in Tampa. We finna go out. Let's go. And I'm like, man, I can't. I got a research paper to do. They like, what? Like, yeah, man, I can't go. Got a research paper to do, man. I got to graduate next month. So everybody like, oh, that's what's up. That's what's up. They still thought I was tripping. They like, man, why is you doing this or whatnot? But I seen something, Corey. Like I saw something else, man. And I knew if I could leverage this where I'm at right now, that's how I can get to the next level.
And what I wanted to talk about is I'm gonna go back just a little bit. Not only did you take all the necessary steps to get there, you said something that was very profound. You said that You were doing these things so people not only wouldn't have a choice but to accept you. They wouldn't have there's no way they could turn you away if you had the information, the knowledge, and the skill set. And I think a lot of people, what happens is you want to be given something, but you don't deserve it. It-
Facts.
you want to be in a position or a place, but you don't deserve to be there. You haven't done what's necessary. I remember a couple of years ago when my son was at a karate tournament and they cheated him. They cheated him out of the match. But it was because it's point sparring, it could be close. Who got
Mm,
this? Who got this? And so my son was upset. He was like, "Man, they cheated me. They cheated me." And his instructor walked up to him. He said, "They cheated you, but when you come back next year, you don't leave no doubt. You make everything sharp. You make everything clear, and they don't have a choice but to give it to you." And when you were telling that story, just reminded me of people can't turn you away when you got the knowledge. When you go in and you're speaking confidently, when you know what you're talking about, when you bring stuff to the table, when you got the certifications, they have nothing else to stand on. It's like they can't say, "Well, you don't have a PMP, so you ain't qualified." No, I got the PMP. Now tell me why I'm not. And then those doors begin to open. And so from you, I see that you understood that when you had to step your way up through it, you didn't skip no steps. A lot of people want to skip steps. You went up, 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 and you spent the time to study. Rich Dad Poor Dad is a great book for anybody looking to get out of the mindset of the poor. Like being
fact.
poor is a mindset. It's not really a social economic status. We call it that, but it's really at the deep core layer of mindset. When you get out of that mindset, nothing can stop you. And so, Demarcus, from talk to us a little bit. I don't want you to. You got to go get the book. You got to get the book. I dropped the website, but talk to us a little bit about the 5 secrets, principles to secure the bag. Don't give us
Oh,
everything. Just give us a little bit.
I got you. I got you. Got you. Oh man. I mean, if y'all have been listening to, just from what we talking about thus far, man, it sums up those secrets too, bro. And just to throw it a little bit out, your philosophy. Number one, you have to shift your philosophy on getting this bag or whatever. And when I say bag, I mean that's anything that you desire to have at that time. You have to be able to see it for yourself. You have to see it from a different perspective, just like you were saying how poverty is a mindset. Getting rich is a mindset. Creating generational wealth is a mindset. Going back to school is a mindset. Starting a podcast is a mindset. Writing a book is a mindset. All of it. You have to start in your mind first. And just to tell you a little bit more about another secret is knowledge of self, man. Like, when I look back over my story and my life, bro, I was trying to figure out who I was. I was trying to figure out how I was, who I was, and that once you find that core right there, that's what's gonna help you be able to sustain anything that you're trying to do. Period. Because you're not easily influenced, you're not easily persuaded to go left or right. You know what you want, you know what makes you tick, you know how you're wired. And by doing that, you'll be able to stick to your strengths and you'll be able to see your blind sides and know, okay, if I go that way, that's gonna mess me up. And you have to develop a skilled trade, man. You know, in this era, you have to really develop a skill and refine it, cultivate it, nourish it. That's what I end up doing. It just happened to be, pipe fitting and welding. And now I start taking those different principles or same principles and implement them in a different way. Like just to be an entrepreneur, certain skills you have to adapt. Then you have to continue to refine it, continue to rephrase it, restructure it, and cultivate it like a baby. And then on top of that, financial intelligence. Like, bro, we live in an information age right now, man. If you can develop the information, if you can research the information, if you can retain it and continue to read and to get extremely financial literate, you going to the next level. Period. especially in this next decade. Like it's all out here, bro. Like I come from Enterprise, Mississippi, 514 people population, 16,000 median income, and I literally made the shift to purchase some apartments to create generational wealth. It had never been walked out for me. I've never seen nobody in my family do it. I never seen nobody in my circle do it. I never seen none of that. And from the financial intelligence, you just have to indulge in ownership. Let's own some stuff. Whether that's your masters, if you're an artist, whether that's your home, um, your cars, different businesses, franchises. Like utilize, turn everything into an asset if you can. And that's all I'm gonna get on.
So check this out though, Tyrus, because this is something, and we talked about this before. But I think it's pivotal for certain people to hear because a lot of people, and I was just having a conversation with an individual the other day, and they said, I hate writing stuff down. I hate saying that I'm going to do something because what if I can't deliver on it? And so then I said, well, what if you can? And it was as simple as that. And I was like, so you're afraid to say it or you're afraid to write it down because then you have to go do it. And so something that we talked about before, though, was when you wrote that book, some of the stuff that you wrote in there, you ain't even done it yet. So talk to us about that as far as you're writing this book and you're writing stuff down in this book and you hadn't even done it yet.
Facts. I was talking about, and for me, I know you have to write the vision and make it plain. Like I said, I'm a man of God. I know y'all are men of God, and when you have that true core, and okay, now it's time to test God. Now you say write the vision, make it plain. Let's see. So as I started going through certain things in my life, man, I started writing it down, just like creating the books, and pushed myself to develop those things. Like I put that pressure on myself to attain those things. And it was just like setting goals, setting tangible goals over and over and over. Like if I said I'm going to get my degree, I didn't give up because I didn't get it that first year or that second year or that third year or that fourth year or that 10th year. Like I still knew, I wrote it down, I saw it, it's going to come to pass. I knew I was gonna. You guys, Tyrus, right before we bought the apartments, didn't I say it? Yep. Said I own some apartments, not on them. I said, yeah, man, we're finna close on these apartments. This is my first meeting, Tyrus. We're finna close on these apartments, but I didn't even have it under contract.
He said it. I'm talking about. He said that we about to close these apartments. Boom, and then next thing I know, he sent me a picture with he at the closing table with the keys.
But man, it's all God, man. You just have to do that to yourself. You have to put yourself in position, and then you have to just work towards it and wait on it. But you definitely got to work towards it.
And what that sound like, Tyrus? That sound like something we talk about all the time. We're gonna have to have a section talking about a little section in the podcast talking about blessed or work hard.
Right.
Because and the thing is like the good book says faith without works is dead, but people keep missing the work, and so then they're gonna look at you. They're gonna say, "Oh man, Demarcus on that man. He has some apartments that he just bought. Man, he got the properties and he got the degree and all this other stuff." And then they're gonna skip over all the stuff about how he said he just worked for that. Mm-hmm. I guess you just so happen to be blessed.
Yeah, you just blessed, Demarcus.
You just blessed. You ain't had to work for that.
I am, man. I am, but I'm a visionary too, man.
And that's what it takes. And when me and Demarcus first met and we were talking, he was telling me all these things that he was gonna do, what was gonna come to pass, his vision, his dream, what he wanted his company to look like. And it hasn't even been it's probably been a month. and
Yeah.
all of those pieces are in place. All of those things are lined up. Everything that he says that he's going to do or is already in the pipeline, man, it applies. There's some application there. And so Demarcus is a walking testament of say it, work on it, do it, achieve it, move on to the next or grow that. And a lot of people might say, well, y'all ain't really telling us about how to make money. If your mindset isn't right, if you don't catch those 5 principles that he told you, we can give you the blueprint on how to make money. We can tell you to go get this house tomorrow. We can give you a house to flip. You won't do it. And you won't
Nope.
do it because your mindset isn't right. You're not in the right place. You're not prepared. You're just not set up properly. And oftentimes, if we want to talk about blessing, people just want to be blessed. Are you prepared to receive the blessing?
Mm,
Because you want God to give you this big old house, but how you gonna take care of that house when you won't take care of a 1-bedroom apartment?
mm,
So think about
Man,
think about your mindset. Think about how you can move forward and change your mindset because that's the foundation. When we talk about giving principles, we start with the foundation. We ain't just trying to get on here and tell you that you'll be a millionaire. Because if you don't get yourself right in the mind first, you'll never, even if you make a million, you won't keep it. My great granddad used to say, money harder to keep than it is to get.
nah, and check this out. So, and it sound like Demarcus and I were on two opposite ends of the spectrum as far as with the work we were doing, because he was doing the welding and whatnot. I was doing the shipping of the pipe, and so something that I learned, he talked about like learning principles within the job you're in. Check this. I don't work for no fabrication company now. I'm not trying to do that. It was great while it lasted. But the one thing we had was anytime somebody put that order for pipe in, I used to have to go cut it, had to ship it out to when the truck came and all that stuff. We always used to have to turn in and go check the heat code on the pipe. And so
mm.
I don't know if that's something that y'all used to do, DeMarcus, like verify the heat code. But they always, I asked them one day because I was like, I don't really care about it as long as it was right. But I said, what's the reason we got to make sure the heat code was right? And they said, well, because it takes X amount of pressure and it can take so much heat. If you send the wrong pipe, it doesn't have the right heat code on it. It's not what they say, malleable or whatever the term is for them to be able to put it together. That's beyond me. But they was like, it can explode, you can hurt people, it can destroy stuff. And so I was like, you know what, you show right, because that's just life in general. I was like, if you show up to an opportunity and you ain't got the right heat code, you can't take the right amount of pressure or the heat, you're not malleable, as people would call it. You're gonna explode, you're gonna hurt people, you're gonna
Yep.
destroy some other stuff in the process. And I was like, yo, little did I know these jobs that I'm working are teaching me principles about life that most people are just going to work and they're just like, oh man, it's just whatever. I'm just getting this paycheck to get off on Friday. And in my mind, I was like, there's literally principles being taught here that I didn't even realize at the time.
Big facts. Big
Man,
facts.
now
And
you got
man,
people going back and
it's
look.
interesting that you just start talking about, the heat codes and stuff, right? So I was the only brother on the job. All right. And it's been many. I'm gonna be honest with you, there are not many brothers in the industrial setting when it comes to building pharmaceutical projects, LNG gas plants, combined cycle power plants, coal project plants, chemical refineries. Like when I tell you, it ain't that many. And I've experienced it to where I was in a situation where I didn't know everything. I didn't know enough to be able to retain or to be competent in a certain situation. So of course you're gonna get tested. All right, you're gonna get tested, and you're gonna get exposed. But I remember when I had just one project I just left off like last year or 2 years ago, I was tested, but I showed myself approved. Like, bro, like I was in position to be able to do the fabrication. I was in position to be able to find the coordinates of the pipe, whether how many degrees it should be this way or that way, what how much pressure was going to be on the pipe, what fluid was going to be in the pipe, what type of systems it was, and knowing the coordinates, period. And I see now, man, like that principle has pertained to life, man. And once you start developing those principles all the way across the board, man, your life become fruitful, and you start bearing fruit in many different areas, man. And that's what I'm seeking and seeing right now, man. That's
Mm,
awesome.
yeah, that's good. That's good there. It's like it's always the same with we want to see the big boom. We want to get the information from what seems like the epiphany, but it's the small things in life that we don't look at day in and day out that we ignore that can make the most impact. It's
Yep.
just that simple. Look around you. If you're listening and you're looking for inspiration or you're looking for direction or you're trying to figure out how you could change your life, start looking around you at the small things that you already go through and try to figure out what lessons are there here that I need to be learning so I can move to the next level. Because oftentimes people are stuck in one level because they haven't completed that lesson yet.
Mm,
They passed the test. They
that's
could
good.
constantly failing the same test over and over and over and wondering why you can't get out is because you haven't mastered where you're at first. When I was growing up, this lady and her husband they had this smaller trailer. Man was a mechanic, always dirty. The woman kept that. It was a smaller trailer, immaculate, and she was like, "This my mansion. It ain't nobody mansion but mine. I'm gonna keep it clean." She kept that house so clean and it was so small. Somebody might look at it and say, "Man, you just got a little bit of trailer. Why you worry about it like that?" If everybody took pride in what they had, no matter what the size was, then you can graduate into taking something bigger. You can graduate into having a bigger house or graduate because you got to take care of it, or else it's just going to break down and crumble, and it's going to be detrimental to you. And so we getting ready to close this thing out in a little bit. Demarcus, talk to us about credit, personal credit, and for the entrepreneurs out there, business credit. What are some key things that we need to look at credit wise on our credit reports, our credit scores that we need to clean up or that we should have that will strengthen our credit? Or what are
Yeah,
some of those things that we need to start thinking about and looking at credit wise?
got you. Um, Honestly, man, when it comes to the personal credit, I know a lot of people. We need to become mature stewards over credit and discipline over credit. And I'm gonna say it right now. We need to have credit cards. And I think when we have these credit cards, we say that again.
Dave Ramsey gonna get you. You know he don't like credit card.
Who don't like credit cards?
Dave Ramsey,
Said Dave Ramsey.
Fact. Oh yeah, he don't. He don't like credit cards. But
talk to us.
him, Dave might have been born into wealth and the knowledge and information to where they can do it in a different route. But for where I'm from, we don't have those tools or resources. So we get these credit cards and we create these trade lines on our personal accounts to be able to establish business credit. But a lot of times when we have these credit cards, all we know is the billing cycle date
That's it.
or excuse me, the minimum payment date. We don't know the billing cycle date. And usually it's 3 to 4 days after the minimum payment date. And sometimes we end up thinking that we're getting credit that's reporting when we're not. And we just want to pay it off every month. Every month. That's what we've been told. Pay it off every month. Pay it off every month. Pay it off every month. But then you got to think about it. Okay, if I'm somebody that's trying to do business with you and trying to establish a mature or disciplined level of credit, I want to make some money off of you too. And it needs to report some. And I know we've been told that it needs to stay no higher than 30% utilization. I'm going to say 10%.
Hmm.
So let's take a scenario if you had $300 on the credit card and you wanted to establish some credit. So you got the secured credit card, and now you don't have no credit at all. You take that $100. Let's say you pay $100 because that was just the gas for the whole month or something like that. Let it report. Let it report. That next month, pay it off. After that, let it utilize some more of it to 10%, no more than a 30% margin. Then the next month, pay it off. Then the next month, let it report. Use it. Let them get a little interest off of you. Let them get a little money off of you. But then come back the next month and do that. And by the time that 6 months, man, depending on what bank you have, they're gonna give you some line of credit. First, they're gonna say, okay, this guy is paying his bills on time. This guy is not overspending the credit that we're giving him, and this person is giving us some money. It's the established payment over time. And I was talking to a young gentleman the other day, probably like 17 years old, and he, in hard position, like his family, like where he lived, nobody cares, nobody knew this, and I was just sharing that information with him, and it just kind of like blew up in his face, like it was crazy. I'm talking about he never heard anything just this simple. And for me, I'm thinking that everybody at least knew this much of information about credit, but he didn't know nothing about that. Now, when you get to this personal credit, you got to be able to leverage business credit. 2021, everybody probably gonna start a business. Should anyways. At this point, we all need to have LLCs. We all need to be trying to figure out what type of legacy we're gonna leave for our family, and we got to come up with funding though. Like that's the hard part. I remember one time, man, I just dropped everything right from construction. It was like, I'm gonna be a best-selling author. Ran out of money. Had to go back to construction. Had to go back to construction. I was like, you know what? I'm forgetting. I bumped that. I'm just gonna step on faith and do it. But now that I go back, man, I established some business credit and business funding. We gotta utilize other people's money. We got to. So there's certain tiers accounts that you can actually get. There's 4 tiers. 4 tiers. The way that you get this business funding is you first have to establish business credibility. You need to have a phone number. You need to have an address. You need to have a website. You need to be, somebody should be able to get on Google to find you, a 411 listing. There are different type of places that you can get to where you got a Google account, or you can have different virtual assistants, which I know Tyrus is the man when it comes to this, to be able to give you assistance to show if a bank called, they want to see, okay, is this really a legitimate business? And you may not have had no sales, you may not have had none of that, but on black and white, you look like you've been running it. You also need to have a Dunn's number, Dun and Bradstreet number. A lot of people don't know what that is. The Dun and Bradstreet number. This is where your business credit, 90% of businesses report their credit to this place. And after it's reporting, this is what we call a paydex. So you have a paydex score. With your personal side, you have a FICO score. Your FICO score from what, 0 to 850. Then you got your paydex from like 0 to 10. Now, in my business, we have structure to where we literally walk people steps through step through step through step, certain tier accounts, second tier accounts, third tier accounts, fourth tier accounts, which is your major business accounts once you get to 3 and 4, to where we're guaranteeing 50,000 in business funding. Guaranteeing. That's minimum. But depending on how your business is set up and structured, you can get up to 250,000.
Y'all better go check them out. I had dropped the website link in the comments. Y'all better go check them out, because that's one of the key things that a lot of businesses struggle with in the beginning is funding. How do I get funding to launch my product? How do I get funding to stay afloat until my service gets out there? How do I do this and that? And man, Demarcus, me and Corey and our partner Aisha, we talked about in our strategic goal planning sessions, be legitimate. All those things that you just said in the beginning were marks of a legitimate business. People want to still hustle. So what do you have to say about the hustle? I ain't trying to set up no LLC. I don't even know what that is. I'm just gonna hustle it. What do you have?
They're still taking Cash App. Trying to send me your cash. You can Cash App me or whatever. Send me a DM and we can schedule it.
The video just went out a little bit. It glitched a little bit when all I heard was a DM and schedule it.
So what do you have to say about the non-legitimate businesses out there? Those people that still hustling on the side.
Gotcha. I would say, come on, raise the bar. Raise the bar. Like, this is the whole time we've been talking about mindset and shifting. We got to get out of that mindset. And I got a brother that's literally in that hustling mentality, right? And he wanted to do some business with me. And I was telling him, yo, okay, we can do business. Okay, as long as I put you as a 1099 contract, we can do some transactions with me and you doing business. And he like, wow, why we gotta do it that way? Why we just can't, why we can't send Cash App? Why we can't do this? It's a different ball game now. It's a different ball game. So look, I'm willing to do business with you, but I need you to come up a little bit. I need you to get the skills. I need you to get the information. I need you to do this legitimately now. Like we on a different scale. We on a different scale. And I think I would just tell people, man, to just make the shift, bro. Make the shift.
Let me type in here though, Tyrus is so, and this is a situation, Tyrus, and we were laughing about this the other day. The gentleman was telling me basically, you know, the very Dave Ramsey approach to it, the very if you don't have enough money, cash to buy the thing, then you don't need it. And he takes a very cash approach to certain things. Man, me and my wife don't go on trips unless we actually have the cash to buy it. Me and my me and my kids, we don't do this unless we have the cash. The car that I have, I bought it cash. All this, and you kind of gave a different approach to say, okay, to me that's more defensive versus offensive, to say, well, let me get the credit open, let me get the bank accounts open, let me act like I'm a legitimate business. Let me get, even personally, if you're not trying to open a business, even personally, you're like, well, get some credit cards. That way it can report and you can do these other things. And so Tyrus and I had a conversation and I said, well, if that's the case, I said, literally the way that my house is appreciated, I would have missed on tens of thousands of dollars based on how it's appreciated now, had I just been waiting to get the cash. I don't believe, let me rephrase that. I do believe that the normal American person, or the normal person, especially in the Black community, I'm just going to take it there for a second. You're not going to amass $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in one transaction for the most part. That, yes, there's some people who can actually do that. But I will say for the typical person who's trying to get up out of a situation or amass some type of wealth, that's not going to happen for a lot of people. However, we can help you do that. Obviously, get with one of us three. But the thing is I said, well, what should I have done? Should I have missed out on this? And I'm gonna just throw it out there right now. So my house is appreciated $50,000 right now. Should I miss out on this $50,000 because I didn't have cash in hand to give to the seller to say this is what I'm doing? So should I miss out on that opportunity, or should I pay it? And it sounds like you were going more offensive to it, to say, get the credit, build your credit up, get these things. So can you talk to us about that type of mindset when it comes to investing or building yourself up versus, because I do see a lot, no shade to Dave Ramsey. I personally think, let me keep my personal thoughts to myself. I'm just kidding. I'm gonna just be transparent with y'all. I see some of these testimonials and they'll be like, I'm a sweet potato farmer and I just paid off $92,000 in debt this year. And I'm like, ain't no way, because you ain't made that much money. There's no way in 1 year that you had this. You talking about you got this minimum wage job, and I'm just on the job out there. So y'all sweet potato farmers, y'all with me. You got this regular job, and you talking about you paid $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 off in a year, and I'm sitting here like I'm counting my bank account, like where could I get $90,000 to just throw towards some debt this year, and I can't find it. So talk to me about that when it comes to that type of approach. Is it a good approach? Is there a better approach to different things? Because I do see a lot of people falling into this. Well, I just got to get out of debt. When in reality, I'm under the impression of, well, if I can get some things to make me get out of debt, if I can get some assets to get me out of debt, that sounds like a much better plan to me.
Facts, man, bro. I remember one point in my life I was listening to Dave Ramsey, right? And I'm like, yo, you mean to tell me I got a penny pinch and like just eat a noodle pack every day and just give all my money to these, debtors and creditors? And I'm like, nah, I don't think that's the right way. And I remember me and my wife was taking that approach. Like, we're gonna pay these student loans off. And I picked up the Robert Kiyosaki book. And it literally shifted my entire mind. And I read the book, and my wife didn't read it. All right. So I want y'all to see something. So my wife is still like, yep, we gotta pay student loans off. All this gotta pay that. And I'm like, we gotta get something to pay for the student loans. Like, ain't no way I'm about to give all my money to pay on these student loans. So I'm gonna give y'all an example. And we were just talking about the structure, right? The structure of our business, right? The credit and etc. The apartments, I utilized somebody else's money. It was not my money at all. Seriously. And 95% of the people, 95% of Black-owned businesses did not get PPP or EIDL from the SBA. Only because their credit was not right and their structure and foundation of their business was not right. Once they began to put in these applications and the SBA started looking at their business or looking at their personal credit, they got denied. So I'm all for utilizing somebody else's money. So I took some money, credit cards, different money that I was paying myself W-2 through my business to close a $400,000 property that goes over $1,500 that goes towards those student loans and other bills. And that's debt.
And that's where we get into your job. If you got a full-time job, we ain't telling you go out and quit your job. We ain't telling you to go do all that. Work your job, take your income from your full-time job, put it towards assets, and let those assets pay for your liabilities. That's all we saying. All we saying is create a game plan. Because if you can save, and I take this from Jamal King, the 95 millionaire, if you can save 6 months of expenses, you can save enough money to get you a rental property. And barring you not in California somewhere where all the prices are just high, you might have to invest in a state, make some connections and invest in a state where you can get into rental properties lower. That way you can take that money made from those rentals, that cash flow. Not only do you have an asset that's bringing you cash flow, bringing you income, it's going to appreciate if you're in the right areas, the other money that you can leverage and take out. Then you just paying off your bills with that. You don't have to take the rental income and buy something else. You can just use it to pay your debt, or you can use it to buy another rental, or you can put it in a trust for generational wealth. So there are different avenues that you can go through with this. And Demarcus, I'm glad you brought that up about the PPP and the EDAL. They hit a lot of people on their credit and not being structured properly. And for me, that's crazy on the especially the disaster loan part, because people were impacted. But it's like, oh, if your credit not right, and for some people, their credit was okay until they couldn't pay their bills for 3 or 4 months, and now they credit messed up, and then they get denied.
Yep.
But it's like my credit bad because I can't pay my bills because my business is shut down. How does that make sense? And so, on that note, Demarcus, what are some ways that people can begin to clean up their credit in a timely fashion? I know you if you pay your debt, if you catch up on your bills over time, it'll get better. But what are there any ways that you can rapidly clean your credit up when stuff happens and you just fail?
Uh, yeah, man. You have so there's certain softwares put in place, and there's also certain dispute letters that can be implemented. But I think the fastest way to increase certain credit, man, is literally piggybacking. Obtaining an authorized user. And I was just talking to somebody in Clubhouse a few days ago, and I was telling them how my daughter's 11 years old, and she's an authorized user on my credit. And by doing that, I'm establishing her with extensive, strong credit history. To when
Mm,
she become 18, if she decides she want to go to college, what we're gonna do is we're gonna buy a property in that area. She ain't gotta live in a dorm, and then we're gonna rent it out to other students or whatever it is that she want to do in that aspect. And it's just powerful, bro. Like if you know somebody that got good credit and you're trustworthy, you being an authorized user in the next 30 to 60 days over the course of a few months, they can boost your credit up over 100 points, man. Some even more than that.
wow. And then all the while you continue to, especially as you get back on your feet, pay down
Mm-hmm.
the things that you missed or things that, if you had to, because I understand that, especially for some businesses that are almost out of business, they might have to run up their credit cards. They have to, pull out all the stops just to survive and to stay
Facts.
afloat. And that's one thing about the money game is that when you hit trouble, if you don't have something to stack up, they take it quick, and they'll take your
Quick.
credit score down fast, and there's almost no remorse for that. It's like, "Oh, you didn't pay this bill? So what that nobody can come in?" That's because there should be some understanding, in my opinion. If you were good, if they go back and look at your credit history, which I don't know if they can pull it previous times, but from the month of March, if you were good before that, but after March you start to decrease, they should have something in place for protection. Not just, oh, you can't pay your bills, too bad. Now your credit ruined and you got to work your way out. Talk to us now. I know we're supposed to wrap up, but I can't let the people go without you walking us through a little bit of the multifamily unit that you just purchased because you mentioned
Okay.
that you use other people's money. Talk to us a little bit about how did you find the property, a little bit of the financial backside. How did you find the money for it? What was all the things that got into place for you to close it? And I know you already mentioned that you'll be able to take that money, pay off other things, do other things with it. What's the long-term vision for that property?
You said what's the long term?
Yeah, and
The
some of the
long.
back end about the finances and how you found it, how much you had to bring to the table, if anything, and how did you find the money?
Okay, okay, okay. Well, yeah. So this is very interesting to be honest with you because I was working at a pharmaceutical project. This was with the construction management job, right? And the whole time I was, doing my due diligence, researching, trying to close on some apartments. And I want to give you a quick story. So I was in Raleigh, North Carolina. It was a 4 unit. Me, my wife, and the realtor was in it. Beautiful day outside. And I'm talking about walking into the building, bro, like literally within 3 feet of me, lightning struck. Boom. I'm talking about loud, just devastating right there. And from that moment, we was like, yo, we got to get away from here. So we left, called a guy in Norfolk, Virginia. End up just looking around. I'm like, you know what? I guess I want to get it in Virginia somewhere. because my business is established in Virginia. And we're getting ready to close. I get the pre-approval and everything for now for 400,000 pre-approval. The lender, excuse me, no. As soon as I get the pre-approval from the lender, I think 3 days later, my contract come to an end. No more money coming in, no more jobs. So you already know you got to have your 2-year history of the job. That's gone. Now I'm thinking like, yo, we can't close on an apartment. We can't do none of that. So what we end up doing is I started researching. This is when I started truly walking out on this faith, man. And I got a realtor in that area anyways. Got on Zillow, hit him up. He sent me the MLS, and he sent me a couple of properties, but those were no good. I didn't even have a pre-approval at this time no more either. Found a property that I like. My realtor didn't find it. I'm the one who searched it. Got back on the phone with the lender and utilized my business. So I'm a W-2 employee through my business. And at the time, I didn't know that I could actually utilize my business that way. I couldn't keep that as that being my income. The income was still equivalent to the money that I was making through the construction. Got the pre-approval, got it under contract. So we get the property under contract they offered 325. Excuse me, they listed at 325. I offered 328. You always want to, give them a little bit more money over so that you can actually close the contract. And I also gave them a $3,000 earnest money check. When he got that contract, we got him on the contract, find out I own more than 30% of my business, which I already knew. But I didn't know that if you own more than 30% of your business, now we can't take this into contract. We can't take this as you having a W-2. You got to show us like 2 or 3 years of tax returns.
Yeah.
I didn't have that. All I had was 1 year. Now, if you own less than 30% of it, then you can show me that 1 year, and you can just show me the 2 weeks or 2 months of W-2 stubs, and I could have continued. So that put me out. So now I'm like, what am I gonna do? Lo and behold, my beautiful wife, which is the glue of this family. So now we get my wife into the ball game to where now she's able to get the conventional loan for 5%. First time home buyers, 5%. She make under $65,000 a year. That qualifies her to be able to purchase with a conventional loan for 5%. So now we into this deal at 5%. Come out of it, we experience, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to be honest, we experienced some, I'm going to say racism. Totally. Like they did not want us to buy this. So we was told we had to put down 5%. I get the money for the 5%, which I gift this money as a gift fund to my wife. You got to have certain documentations, all the money got to be traced. Every money got to be traced. So everything is being paid through my business account, as well as me having, $15,000 just saved up in another account that came from the construction management. So we get in the contract, and it's like, hey, you know what? We can't do this no more because now your debt to income ratio is too high for your wife. All right, now this is what, 2 days before close, supposed to close December 8th. So now we have to redo programs. We go FHA. Go back FHA. Now we got to put on 3.5%, which was cool. We're like, okay, cool, we can do that. We get down, now we in breach. Before we went to breach, we had to close by the 18th of December. So you get your 10-day extended period to be able to close because they're supposed to close on the 8th. We get to the 18th, we're supposed to close. We're not able to close because the underwriter at the last minute said we need to come up with $4,900 extra dollars. Now we're in breach. Supposed to close on the 21st of December. The underwriter said, "Oh, y'all can close." But you know what? They sent the closing disclosure out and then sent another email out saying that we got to come up with 77 extra $100 right before the 21st. So as soon as we get to the 21st, we come up with the 7,700 extra dollars. Now we got to come up with an additional $5,500. On top
Mm,
of that, we have to pay for flood insurance and homeowners insurance up front
yep.
annually. That's $6,000. Through that, now we're about to close, right? So you got to close. We're closing on the 22nd now. It's a done deal. Mm-mm. We need to see 6 months of reserves. Six
Wow.
months of reserves. So now, guess what? I got to come up. I got to come up with an additional $17,000 the last minute, miraculously. Utilizing other people's money. I took some credit cards to pay the annual flood insurance and homeowners insurance up front. That took me down to where now the percentage, which I don't know the percentage how they do it to where this is how much reserve that you have to show, but that cut me down, and through that I had to send 5,500 extra dollars over. So by doing that, they was like, okay, well, how are you going to prove that this is your business? Get on the phone, send that information over. Well, uh, this don't say your name. It say Detail Enterprises. So now I'm on the phone again, showing them. Had to get the bank to show where Demarcus Taylor owned Detail Enterprises. Get that over. You need to have a URL at the bottom right. It need to say NavyFederal.org. Okay, get that. And this is all within that last day. The
Wow.
last day to close. We closed within 15 minutes of 12 p.m. Get that over to them. No, this is not going to do it. We need you to go into a bank, get it stamped, saying that you was there, get whoever stamped it to sign it, and they need to sign at the bottom right, NavyFederal.org. And this was at 10:30, where at 10 o'clock we supposed to be walking through our final walkthrough. Come back through right at 12. I got the final documents and they finally sent over the closing disclosure. And we was able to close. So we had to put down initially $17,966.17 for cash to close, but we had to show 6 months reserve, which was 32,000. But cash on cash, it's an 81% return on money.
Nice. Nice. It's a headache. Hey, it's worth it.
Headache.
Yeah, I was like, most people would listen to that and be like, yeah, I'm good.
And you,
Facts.
yeah. And that's why you have certain people that are successful and that thrive in the real estate game because that's not uncommon. As many closings I've been to, as many issues, as many things, man, this stuff happens all the time. And things just pop up. Things come up, inspections don't pass, or somebody goes, "Oh, they don't have this or that," and at the 11th hour, deals be falling apart. And so this is something that if you're thinking about getting into real estate, you gotta have all your T's crossed, your I's dotted, and then be prepared to for the headache after to push that thing through. So, DeMarcus, tell us a little bit as we close. Tell us about the services that you do offer, all the things that you have available to the people, and how they can reach you.
Absolutely, man. Well, I do have a superpower discovery program that I created and developed to be able to show people how they are so that they can open up the window of who they are and to reveal those blind spots so that they can continue to go in the direction that God created them to be. We also do business credit as well as personal credit, and we assist people with consultations on creating that business funding. Guys, just before COVID-19, we had a little over 600,000 Black-owned businesses, and after or during the pandemic, we lost a little over 400,000 of those closed permanently. And they didn't have that business credit and funding. So I highly encourage anybody that's starting a business that's or have one going now to definitely dig into this particular service, period. And I also do motivational speaking and life and executive coaching.
Good, good. And of course, go on his website, demarcustaylor.com. Make sure, guys, that as business owners, as entrepreneurs, emerging entrepreneurs, you're in the 9 to 5, you hustling, you want to get out, set yourself up properly. It starts at the mindset. Then get legal, because all
Facts.
of these things that he's talking about, you can't take advantage of them if you're not legitimate. You just can't. That is, you got to be a part of the game. You got to know the system. He mentioned becoming financially literate, understanding, learning, and studying this, and then working with someone like Demarcus to help guide you through the process. Because, like for me, that's not my skill set. That's not my area. I don't want to go and learn everything I need to learn about credit. I'll call Demarcus, and he can take me through and guide me through that. So really consider that as you grow, get yourself right. This is how you kick your 2021 off and chart and change your trajectory, doing the things that you want to do. And last question, I always want the audience to get their question in. Dwayne says, how did you maintain the discipline to continue? And Dwayne, are you talking about continuing his actual real estate deal or just continuing through his process? And we'll give him a second to answer that, because yeah, if he's talking about through that deal, you just got to be disciplined to to see it through because of the end vision. You got a
Hey,
vision for that.
if
It take a
if
certain bite to get through
he
that.
talking about through that deal, man, just man, being that visionary, being that high pilot, man, and executing. Like, bro, I solve problems and get results, and I had to activate that at the highest level. I'm talking about every time they sent something at me to where it was like you can't get it. I'm like, no, this is my gift. This is my gift. This is what I do. So I promise you, when I discovered who I was and I knew what my blind sides were, I started activating that superpower of just being that problem solver and knowing that this is what I saw. I saw my wife and I owning apartment buildings and I seen the bricks. Like, this is exactly what I seen. I'm like, it's a reason why there's so much pressure on me right now. It's a reason why I'm getting denied or I'm having to hurdle so many different steps because I'm about to break a generational curse. I'm about to open up the floodgates, for the next generation. So that literally pushed me through to just do it anyway, man. We do it anyway.
So what I get from that, being a visionary, understanding the vision, the long game, not the short game. You're looking at the long game, and then knowing that your superpower, your strength, is to
Yeah,
be a problem solver. And so, really, you don't see problems; you just see opportunities.
that's all I saw. Opportunities.
And that's a mindset shift, because most people would see a problem and it's like, I don't want to go through the problem. But you saw an opportunity and you knew that no matter what, I can execute and I can get through this because it's related to what my long term vision is.
Facts.
And
Facts.
Corey, you got anything before we close out?
Nah, I want people to digest it. That's all. I think he gave y'all a lot of info and tangible steps as far as like how you can build your credit, how you can personally and business wise. We talked about becoming legitimate. We talked about having that right mindset. I don't really have anything. I just want people to go back and digest this and take action behind it, because we were talking about Clubhouse right before this. And it's like we get all this info, and then what do we go do with it?
Mm-hmm.
Don't go on Clubhouse and just listen now, because that's my fear. That's my fear for Clubhouse. I think that a lot of people are going to go to Clubhouse. They're going to hear great information, and they ain't going to do nothing with it. Oh, I heard it. I listened. It was good too. I was in the room with Kevin Hart. I heard everything. But is Kevin Hart putting food on your table? Are you taking that information and getting food put on your table with it? It's great to go get free game and information and hear how the greats did what they did. But if you don't apply that to your life, if it doesn't help you move forward, you wasting time. And I know Demarcus is a man that ain't gonna waste no time.
Yeah.
He ain't gonna waste no time. We're trying to figure out how do we apply what we hear to move our life in the next direction to go to that next level. Demarcus, you got anything before we close out?
Uh, no, man, just you know, one thing, turn whatever pain that you have into purpose. Like, find a place to where you can serve somebody else. And I promise you, man, that's gonna shift your mind within itself, man.
See, you want to do something like that because I can do a whole part two on what you just said. We can do a
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother podcast.
whole nother podcast
Facts.
on that right there because that hits home and that hits deep. And so, Demarcus, I appreciate you for joining us tonight, for dropping those gems that you dropped, for the knowledge that you brought to the table, for your story, because you going from based on life in prison to becoming a successful financial strategist and investor. And a lot of people have those obstacles that come up in their way and they never overcome it. And you've done that. And that's what we like to show and really bring out on the empowerment platform is that with information, determination, and drive, you can go do anything that you want to do. And so I definitely appreciate you. Thank you, sir. We're gonna have to do a part two because there's some things that I want to get deeper in, especially on the financial strategy part, because I know that's where our people suffer from the lack of that exposure and knowledge. So again, thank you, thank everybody for joining us tonight.
Thank y'all, man.
Oh, for absolutely. And we're gonna definitely keep grinding, keep rising together. And so
Big
that's
facts.
our show for tonight. Thank you for joining the empowerment platform where our mission is to empower you to reach your goals, whatever they may be. And we'll see you next time.
Peace.